Hi everybody, day 4 at the NAMM Show, which is a Sunday. It's been a fantastic week. I think things are like the old times again. We found one of our best friends in the industry, somebody who's helped us amazingly over the past few years with our pickup systems and our EQs, etc. for our EQs for the guitar, Mr. Lloyd Baggs. How are you doing, Lloyd?
I'm doing great. It has been a great show. It feels like the energy's back. And I'm really excited about, like, you know, really excited for the future again.
Well, I think it's got to be in January, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, January is the month. I know it's like, it doesn't seem right, but it's through history and all of us sort of coming through our holiday season, getting ready for this show at the beginning of the year, when they had it after COVID in June and April. It didn't feel right.
No.
And it's been well attended. Have you had a great show?
Yes, yeah. I think the traffic's been great, and the quality of the traffic has been fantastic.
That's the ingredient, right? Sometimes you don't need so many people as long as you're seeing the right people.
Yeah. And being back in January is brilliant. But although, you know, our families all suffer during the holidays because we're trying to get ready for the show, right?
Exactly, yeah. There's like 50 deadlines.
Yeah. My daughter's, Dad, do we really have to? Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So, Lloyd, just wanted to sort of introduce you to our community because you're quite an important part of it.
Oh, thank you.
And it's many people who, obviously, all who buy our acoustic electrics have your products inside the guitars. And I just, knowing some of your background and starting in luthiery and back to luthiery these days, just wanted a little bit of your history and how you got into the business and how you're kind of here today, really.
Oh, sure. I started playing the cello when I brought this cello home from elementary school when I was in like 4th grade.
Okay.
Because I signed up for violin class, but I was characteristically late, and they ran out of violins, and so the only thing they had left was a cello. And so it turned out I was fairly good at that. And then so fast forward, I was in the UCLA Symphony in high school.
Wow,
I was the 4th chair in the UCLA Symphony, and my teacher was the first chair of the LA Phil. And then he had transferred to 20th Century Fox, and he was the first chair at 20th Century Fox. His name was Joseph DiTullio, brilliant cellist.
Okay.
And so that got me into college because I was a total screw up in high school. I was only interested in cars and girls and partying, and so anyway, I get into college. And just only on the strength of being a decent cellist, I didn't want to go to UCLA because it was too big. So I ended up going to Occidental, which was a smaller college, and so they let me in. And so I thought it was great. And my cello teacher, Joseph DiTullio, was about to start subbing me for dates that he couldn't take about that time. So 3 or 4 weeks into the semester, the college football team went around hazing freshmen. And so there was this halfback, one night, knock on my dorm door, there was this halfback, 3 or 4 guys from the football team they were going to do some bad stuff to the freshmen in their room. Well, basically, I wasn't going to have any of that. They started to come into the room, and I just laid this guy out, but in the process, I broke my hand.
Okay.
And I couldn't even make a fist for about a year.
Wow.
So I was in college. Took me out of that career.
Yeah.
But I was in college. I was having a good time.
Yeah.
So okay, that's fine. But I got really interested in blues at the time.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I get a guitar. You know, I bet I could be good at guitar since I was pretty good at cello. I still suck at guitar. I've never been able to translate that 5th to 4th thing.
So you could play guitar, although you couldn't play cello?
Well, I could play
with a hand.
Well, I was using it to rehabilitate. After a couple of years of therapy, I kind of got my hand back.
Okay.
And so I started trying to play guitar.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
Okay.
So anyway, fast forward after college, I'm working. I was in the art business. I was a fine art master printer for a while, doing like limited edition graphics.
Okay.
But still trying to play music on the side. Sucked at guitar, still sucking. Well, okay, why don't I make one? Because I was pretty handy. And so I made my first guitar in my garage in Berkeley. It started in 1974.
Wow.
And I bought some wood, and the only book that I could find on making guitars, and went after it. And I had this beautiful, small, original Washburn oval hole carved top.
Okay.
It was a gorgeous guitar, and I wanted to duplicate that or make something like that. So anyway, I did. Well, sort of like that. It's a testament to glue that the thing didn't explode.
Oh, it did explode?
No, it exploded. I put everything together with such force that it was such a mess.
So much tension.
Yeah. Every time I'd walk by it, I'd want to jump. And so anyway, about halfway through that guitar, I said, "This is it. I want to do this for my life." I loved it. And so because of my association in art, I had met Ry Cooder because his wife was an artist.
Fantastic.
And so anyway, I got halfway through that guitar and I thought, okay, I want to do this for my life, and I'm going to finish this guitar, and Ry's going to own one. That just thought.
Just because you had a connection to somebody who was a great player, and that's my target, my direction.
Yeah. So I finished that guitar, and my friends at work were really encouraging, and the day I was going home to string it up, my best friend at work said, "It'll probably sound like the sound of a 10-penny nail hitting the asphalt on a hot day."
Hardly resonant.
Yeah. So anyway, took that guitar down to Ry after I finished it, and he loved it. And he said, "Will you build me one?" And I said, "I thought you'd never ask, right?" So anyway, that launched my career. And I was in the Bay Area at the time. I moved down to LA because I knew that's where the musicians were.
Okay.
And I got a loft in an old fire station in downtown LA, which is about a half a mile east of what's now the Staples Center.
Okay.
So I was in the bowels of downtown Los Angeles for 11 years.
Right.
And started making guitars down there.
So lots of artists coming through?
Oh yeah, it was an artist community. And so anyway, during those years, I ended up building, so back to the connection with the cello. Violin makers, they know something.
That's true.
So I became a member of this scientific society called the Catgut Acoustical Society with this woman by the name of Carleen Hutchins, who was assembling all of these physicists to reverse engineer violins.
Old violins.
Yeah.
To try and get like a Strad voicing or something.
Yeah. So they had all these methods of testing. I learned about vibration patterns and all that kind of stuff. So I set about
like natural torrefaction discussions and
the whole night,
lignin hardening and
stuff,
all that sort of stuff. And
I only understood about 10% of it.
Yeah.
But there was some stuff in there. I got all these manuscripts and just inhaled this, and I thought, okay, I need to shorten the experience and make better guitars faster.
Okay.
So anyway, I started duplicating some of these scientific ideas and learning how the guitar actually worked at a higher level, faster than I would have if I would have spent. It would have taken me 20 years to get there without.
And this was like an association where violin makers or violin people who were studying all violins just came together and discussed their thoughts.
Yeah, it was. She just galvanized. Yeah, they're physicists. Like I mean, we're talking about some rocket scientists.
We're still doing the same thing.
Yeah, but I think Carleen was the person who started using laser interferometry to study.
What is that? That's
you use a laser to study it. It's like a high frequency strobe.
Okay.
And it'll freeze. You can see all the modes.
Vibration. And,
you can see all the modal vibrations of a guitar. And so I had a few friends that had decent guitars, so I would study the modal vibrations of the tops and the backs and think, okay, now how can I do this on my own guitars?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I ended up building guitars for Jackson Browne, Ry Cooder, Janician, and a bunch of the professionals at the time. Yeah, she's still one of my buddies.
Really?
Oh yeah, Janice is wonderful.
Was it 17? Was that the song?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the big hit, right?
Yeah.
Beautifully written song.
Yeah, and she's a character.
Yeah.
She's an amazing person.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was just blessed to be surrounded by a bunch of cool people.
Yeah.
And so I along the way. I had just finished a second guitar for Ry, and he called me up one afternoon and says, "Lloyd, can you come down to Warner Brothers this afternoon? There's something I want to show you." And so he had been at my studio all the time. We were putting all kinds of crazy pickups in the first guitar that I built for him, and typically a magnetic pickup and a microphone. And he had this rack full of equipment to make it all work that he used to swear at. And that rack that he swore at was actually the impetus for me moving forward to try and make it a simple process to get the kind of sound that these guys were actually after. You know, and now I'm trying to synthesize the whole rack into a small, the plug and play idea.
So
where I was doing,
thinking, what was around then, like pickup wise? I mean, was it just sort of sound hole?
Sound hole magnetic, and a microphone.
Okay.
And so
but the mic must have been
little lapel mics and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, were they handling the sort of frequency inside a guitar?
Well, they'd
put it on the sound hole.
Put it on the sound hole, and suffer.
Yeah.
And feedback, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And he had this literally rack full of equalizers, amplifiers, all kinds of stuff, compressors, just to try and get the sound that that's more common today. He's one of the brave pioneers of doing this.
Yeah, it's like amazing, you know, when you see how much technology there is in the world, but actually reproducing an acoustic instrument sound electronically has been really hard.
Really hard.
You know, it's like almost evaded us until sort of modern times, right?
Yeah.
You know,
like I was always jealous of the electric guitar because a 12-year-old kid could go to GC, plug it in, and have a big grin on his face in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But most people that play acoustic, you have to know a lot, and it's still tough out there.
It's just complicated. There's so much going on frequency-wise. To try and package that and turn it into something that comes out the other end is hard, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
you know?
It is.
You've spent a lifetime doing that.
Oh, it's been, man, my forehead's so bloody hitting the wall. I've got so much scar tissue up here. But anyway, Ry calls me that afternoon. Yeah. And so I go down to Warner Brothers, and I'm breaking my arm, patting myself on the back, because he's probably using the second guitar in the studio. I'm thinking, oh, this is cool. So anyway, I walk into the studio, and I see what I thought was my first guitar leaning up against an amp. And he brings me in the control room and plays me the first instrumental part of one of his tracks on Bop Till You Drop.
Okay.
And my jaw just hit the floor. I was like, oh my gosh, Ry, how did you mic that thing? And he says, well, that's what I wanted to show you. So he had just toured Japan and had toured the Takamine factory.
Okay.
And he said, Takamine knocked off your guitar, but that's their pickup system. It's pretty great, isn't it?
Very interesting.
Yeah. I've never been as pissed off and hurt and excited at the same time. It was like, he said, I never let it out of my hands, I swear. There were a bunch of people with cameras and stuff, but they liked what I was doing with amplification, and so they copied this guitar. And wow. Okay. So I sat out in my car for about 30 minutes after that.
Just digesting.
Yeah, just digesting it, alternately being pissed and excited. Pissed, excited, pissed, excited.
Because you could see a way forward or something similar?
Yeah. I kind of said, okay, I'm getting really tired of sanding and finishes.
Yeah.
And so I like this. I like this idea. And so then Ry and I came to this NAMM Show in 78, 79, and I'm aghast at thinking about it right now, because I had this beat to crap old Chevy pickup truck, and here I am with an American Treasure. We're driving from Santa Monica to Anaheim in this crappy old truck with bad brakes and no suspension.
With Rycooder.
With Rycooder, right?
Valuable cargo.
Yeah. So we meet up with he arranged for a meeting with Mr. Harade. And so in this meeting, I basically complimented him on the job that he had done. I said, I think you've done a beautiful job of replicating this guitar. Yeah. But do you actually think you might owe me a little something?
Really?
I said, I would have helped you if you would have asked my permission, but you just went and did it. Do you think you might owe me a little something? And he goes, what do you want? And I said, I make 10 guitars a year. I would like to amplify them. I know you don't sell this system to anybody. Will you sell me 10 systems a year?
Really?
Yeah. And he goes, that's all you want? I said, yep. Stuck out his hand. He sent me a few systems a few months later, and I took one apart, and I thought, you got to be kidding me. That's so simple. Now, little did I know how difficult it was. And so...
Isn't the best engineering simple?
Yeah, yeah. So, of course I had to... so I thought, all right, so the original Takamine pickup was, you know, a boat anchor. This aluminum casting. And I said, well, I'm never going to put one on a good guitar. Like, you know, I would never put one of these on one of my instruments or anybody else's really good guitar. So the idea of making the first pickup was the LB6, and the whole idea was just to replicate the Takamine sound, but in a package that wasn't ridiculous for retro, you know, for aftermarket. So it took me a year. I didn't know anything. It took me a year.
On the pickup only, or the EQ system?
The pickup only, yeah. So I stopped making guitars. Like, I'm like so monomaniacal that I just stopped making guitars.
Super focus on a new project.
So, you know, it was kicking my butt really bad. It was really difficult, but I just wanted to shrink it. And so I was able to come up with that saddle pickup, the original LB6, that sounded a little bit like the Takamine pickup. And I was like, okay, that's great. So I started selling them, but by that point, I had gotten married and I had a daughter. And so because I had stopped making guitars and I'd spent everything we owned, I'd sold everything we owned to continue with this pickup thing, not really having any idea where it was going to go, just mostly hope.
And faith.
And faith. I ended up having to get a job.
Yeah.
So I got a job selling cars.
Okay.
And I did that for 4 years.
Wow, to subsidize the development of your pickups.
Yeah. Yeah, and
that's amazing.
And so the car thing took me about 50 hours a week, including travel and stuff like that. And so I built up the business during that time.
Whoa.
Well, I learned how to build the pickups first, and then I started, you know, I would take them around, and my wife and I were building pickups together. And
amazing.
You know, so I'd come home from work, and I'd work another 5 or 6 hours building pickups, and we were building up our business a little bit at the time, and so we got Taylor Guitars as a customer.
That's helpful.
Oh, it was really helpful. And so we basically built it up to a point where we took that leap of faith. Our daughter was 4 years old, and it was getting to be school time in Los Angeles, especially in downtown LA where we were living. That was really difficult. So we moved up to where we currently live near Santa Maria. And where her sister was, because we wanted to raise our kids together.
Understand.
So anyway, that was a great move. So we move up there, start selling pickups to Taylor. We're selling enough to barely, you know, make a living.
And what year are we here?
87.
87, okay.
And so
Taylor was starting the sort of...
They were in Lemon
really
Grove.
Traction then, though, right?
Yeah,
so late 80s?
Yeah, yeah. So this was 80. I left the dealership in 86, moved, and to our garage. And we're building pickups in our garage. And then we had what was called the Black Summer of 87. We use epoxy in a lot of our processes. And so our pickups started to fail left and right. We were having 2/3 failures.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was after, and they were delaminating. And I was calling the epoxy company and the whole 9 yards. It was a mess. It turned out all it was in our garage. We had a wall facing the ocean. We could see kind of down into the ocean. 2 o'clock, the sun would be here, bouncing off the ocean, warming that garage wall up. I was keeping the catalyst and the epoxy on a little 2x4 there in the loft. I mean, in the garage, and it was just cooking the catalyst. So, but after about 2 months of this,
took a long time to find that out, did it?
It took 4 months.
Wondering why it was failing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just simply had to move it somewhere else for storage.
Yeah. That was it. That was it. We were just cooking the catalyst. Plain and simple. The pull date looked great.
Yeah, yeah.
But we were just cooking the catalyst. We didn't know.
Yeah, I get it.
And so one morning, I'll never forget, Bob called me up and said, Lloyd, I really hate to do this to you, but we got to move on. We can't continue with your pickups anymore.
I understand that too.
Yeah. So
that, I mean, you went home and thought that was it?
Well, it was looking like it.
Okay.
And then, but we still hadn't figured it out. But we'd saved a little bit of money, and we'd gotten out of debt. So that was the thing I was doing when I was working selling cars. So I was making pretty good money there, actually, which was surprising. First time I made any money in my life.
Well, I'm thinking you've gone from luthiery to car sales to electronic engineering.
Well, engineering's too complimentary of a term. I know how to blow stuff up and then observe the results.
And make some alterations.
Yeah.
Until it stops blowing up.
So anyway, one evening, my wife and I cut the wires off of 100 pickups, which at that time was a month's income. It was the only time that she and I at the same time had cried.
Wow.
And we thought we were a goner. But we figured it out, and we built our business back.
Wow.
And then Robert Godin heard about us.
Okay.
And, okay.
That's a good telephone call, right?
Yeah, he had heard our pickups, and so he came to visit me and wanted to use our pickups.
Yeah.
And, well, but do you have a preamp? Well, what's a preamp? So we found a guy to design a preamp for us, a Jim Demeter from Demeter Amplification. Okay. Yeah, so Jim designed our first preamp. We built that, and we were off and running with Robert.
Goodness me, fantastic.
Yeah.
You never know what's around the corner, right?
No, you never do.
Who's on the end of the line, or who walks through, or who walks on your NAMM booth. We just talked about that this morning.
And I fully believe in angels in life.
Yeah.
And Robert was an angel at that time.
Amazing.
He came to save us. And so then shortly after we're doing some business for a while, then I got this idea about an acoustic electric. So I hollowed out the inside of I bought a telly kit from one of the kit suppliers, and I hollowed out.
Was that the first Acoustasonic?
I think the Chet was the first Acoustasonic.
Yeah.
But the Chet inspired me.
Okay.
And so I hollowed out the inside of that telly and put a brace top on it, and then the telly, the Godin Acoustasonic.
You completely hollowed it out.
Completely.
So like this.
Yeah. We call them nut bowls. You know, the first project you make in wood shop as a kid, you hollow out. You know, we call it a nut bowl.
And you put a new top braced on a Telecaster.
Yeah, a brace top on a Telecaster.
Okay.
And do you remember the Godin Acousticaster that had that oval plate up there?
Yeah.
Well, that was our design.
Okay.
So I licensed that to Robert.
Yeah.
And they went off, and that put us on the map.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So our business was off and running then.
Yeah.
And so
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our true angels, and we're still dear friends with. And Simone's taken over the company now, and is really doing a great job.
Amazing.
It's one of his sons.
Yeah.
And he's doing a great job with it.
Amazing.
And we still do a lot of projects with them.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah.
So that's a pickup.
Yeah.
Was it a piezo?
Yeah, it was a piezo. It was embedded in a saddle.
Okay.
And so it was a unitary saddle with the pickup inside of it.
Okay.
So it had a particular kind of sound. It was really punchy and really feedback resistant, and that kind of got us off to the races. But I didn't know how to build preamps. So then after that one, we started becoming a company. After we had 3 or 4, so we were able to buy a home based on the sales of the telly and our electronics. And so we had a 1,000 square foot building on this property that we bought. Okay, great, we can stay here forever. Well, after we started getting a few employees, and after we got 3 or 4 employees, they were storing their lunch in our refrigerator, using our bathroom, and my wife and I
Understand, I've been there.
Said, this is getting a little old. And so we moved into what's now our current location. But every time, every time
you just
somebody
expanded your. Did you take like one unit, then you took the next one, then you took
we're like a tardigrade. Nothing can kill us. So we just keep getting. We're just in negotiations for 2 more bays right now.
Really?
Yeah.
So you went from that pickup. So the next product was a preamp designed and made by Lloyd Baggs.
Yes, that was a Jim Demeter design.
Okay.
And then we did the Duet, which was our first. That was the first time anybody had put a commercial side mount. I think Larry had done the Blender, which was an outboard box that you could put a mic and a pickup into outboard. But we built one inside the guitar, side mount preamp.
Okay.
And we hired a guy that was the inventor of the Aphex Oral Exciter, Dave Baskind, to do the circuitry on that one.
Very cool.
And again, we ran aground on that one. We actually, Dave fixed it. We had hired another designer, which I won't tell you who that was, to do the circuitry. But that was the first time we used a pickup with a crossover and a blender, or an onboard blending circuit. So turns out that those were breaking badly. And so at one point we had gotten, there was a box of them. We were kind of under the counter. We were like, we're building up these boxes, trying to figure out how to fix this. I flew to Montreal to try and solve the problem. And these guys put me in this hunting lodge in the dead of winter, and there was 10 cabins in this hunting lodge. I was the only person in this hunting lodge, and I thought, oh my God, this is the end of nowhere. Are they going to try and kill me? Oh shoot.
Amazing.
And so I'm in this cabin, and I'm looking around, and I found a mouse, and I was happy to have the company. and so anyway, we come home, we fix the problem, and we actually literally had $50,000 worth of these Duets in a box, broke Duets in a box under the work table. And finally one day said, this is getting too much. So we took these all out, and we dumped them out on our concrete patio and gave all of our employees sledgehammers, and we beat them all up, and then we scooped them up, and we dug a big hole in our backyard and buried them.
But get you into the past, look into the future with a product that works.
We're putting it, and so and then I had also already hired somebody to fix the problem. And it was a couple of simple things that the designer at the time didn't realize. These things were just blowing up from static electricity.
Already in the story reminds me, I once had dinner with a very successful person from our industry, I won't mention, but I said, like, what's the secret? How do you get there? And he said, just keep going.
Yes.
And it's like, of all the simple phrases, and it's like, this is what you said already, there are failures, there are challenges, there are things in the way. You just got to keep going, right? Like it's like already what you've said. The things that you faced, but you got through it. You survived. And it puts all sorts of stresses when you have family, and like sometimes you have to think in early days about what you can and can't afford. Should I have stayed in sales? All those things. You must have gone through all those questions a lot, right?
Yes.
Do I keep going?
Yes.
What did keep you going?
Faith. Literally. After our daughter was born, I couldn't deny God any further. So okay,
I am a
here I am.
A pickup maker, and I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
I need your help. I
Yeah.
don't have any idea what I'm doing.
Then he sent you Robert.
Yeah, he sent me Robert. Yeah. And, you know, you talk about not quitting. One of the things that inspired me was something I heard from this during England. A lot of the places were getting bombed out.
Yeah.
And there was this photo of this bakery that the front was bombed out.
Yeah.
And it had a sign on the bakery, more open than usual. I thought, okay,
what a great
people
line.
have had a lot more hardship than me.
Yeah,
So
exactly, yeah. Will we get bombed today? We're still baking bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, Chris, is that I really didn't feel I was ever qualified for anything else. Like I couldn't wear a suit. I worked in the office that Office Space, the movie Office Space, was based on.
But don't you find a lot of creative people feel that?
I don't know, maybe.
I think they do. I think they question. I think creatives do question themselves. You know, it's like either haven't found the path or they question their capability. You know, lots of people, they still have this imposter syndrome, even though they've proved themselves time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
It's still there, right?
Yo,
you know,
yeah.
It's like from early days. It's like you got to get somewhere to actually step across the line and think, I can do this. I'm comfortable with who I am. You know?
Oh, man,
like,
I still feel that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I seriously.
Yeah, I get it. You know, me too, actually, to be honest.
Because, like, I've always felt like I was just somebody careening from tree to tree.
Yeah.
Without really much of a plan, you know. And
where am I going to land?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So we'll fast forward. So now we're coming in the 90s, and the company's going, and you're growing, and it's just more pickup EQ development and
It was that point was like building infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so we had I don't know 10 or 15 employees at the time, but I was still heavily involved in operations.
Yeah.
Which was just making me miserable. And so, but we were able to persevere and build a fantastic team.
Great.
So that basically nowadays, I just mess up operations. They don't let me, you know, it's like, go to your workbench, go build something, go invent something, that's great. It's such a luxury for me to have.
That's your skill set, right? That's your skill set. That's what you're here for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's saying, you know, don't work in the business, work on the business.
Yeah,
you know, we all get tied up in this daily stuff, and having the foresight to step out and be that vision, you know, big picture, designing products, creativity, and having the support team underneath you. Was that your kind of rocket fuel sort of time when you really started growing?
Yeah. Like part of it was actually. I'm also a landscape photographer, and I was
spare time.
Well, yes. Well, I was really getting quite serious about leaving the business and doing that about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I was represented by a couple of galleries, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to ride off into the guitar sunset and become a photographer. And about that time, I was actually approached by a very credible, wonderful company to sell the company, you know, to buy the company. And so I talked to my kids about it, and adult children about it, and they said, "Oh, Dad, I think that's a great idea. You know, you've earned it. You've wanted to be a photographer. Go for it." And then a little bit after that, maybe a month after that, my son called me up and said, "You know, Dad, I've kind of always seen the business in my future."
Okay.
That's exactly what I said. Okay. And so he got a mechanical engineering degree at Cal Poly.
Okay.
And so I said, oh, okay.
So now you have a legacy.
Yeah. And I have another purpose.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well now it's a different game. I got to build a business that can survive for him.
Yeah.
And that just dropped another hot coal down my trousers. When my daughter was born, my first child, that was like, man, dropped a coal down the back of my trousers and got me moving.
Yeah.
Had to pull up my pants and be a man, you know.
Yeah.
And so when my son said that, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to go be a photographer now. I'm going to build a business that can have for the next generation.
And maybe another one. Who knows?
So in the meantime, he was also a very talented downhill mountain biker, and he was designing a lot of stuff for the cycling industry.
Okay.
And he's found that his heart's really in cycling rather than in music. So he's gone off and he's doing his own thing.
Okay.
But he was the fuel that really propelled this current generation of innovation.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and so it's
Amazing.
like, you know, he kind of like launched the second chapter of our business.
Amazing. So we'll kind of fast forward a little bit, and certainly to, you know, we've been using Stage Pro and Element and VTC over the past 6 or 7 years, I believe, and they're great. You know, it's like, I mean, in that time, we've probably had a handful of returns or a handful of failures.
Well, thank you. That's,
you know, it's like very, very rarely do we hear from anybody, I need a new pickup or a new EQ or something happened. I mean, they're so reliable.
Well, thank you. That's actually our highest goal. It's reliability is the only thing that we value in as far as a thing, value over performance.
Yeah.
I mean, over sound.
Yeah.
So
that's the trust in the brand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, musicians are out there. Who knows what opportunity, you know, if you know, I got to sleep at night.
These are mobile products, right? They're in clubs at night and churches in the morning and out in cases and backs of cars and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Trucks.
I mean, I just couldn't take anybody's money
Yeah.
if I didn't feel I was selling them something that they could rely on.
Yeah, well, I think we all know you've got your heart and soul in this life.
Yeah.
So just to fast forward a little bit, HiFi,
Yes.
which we were totally excited about. I went to your studio in Nashville when we made the content with JP Conway.
Yes.
And I arrived before JP, and your guys gave me our Yairi, which was loaded with the HiFi.
Yeah.
And I plugged it into a Synapse, and it was like, whoa. You know, it's clear. It's not synthetic. There's no quack. There's like, you know, it's just lovely to hear it. You know, like when we spend so long on the guitars, and you know what that's like. It's years and generations of work, and to hear that was blown away. Then JP walks in, I hand him the guitar, and you know he's a serious picker.
Yeah.
And he uses one of your competitors.
Sure.
And he sat down and he played it for a long time, and then he stopped. I can't say what he said on camera, but it was like, and this guy's been playing for a long time, and he said something like, "This is voodoo. What is this? You know, what is this?" And it's like, it's Lloyd's new system, and a little bit of the story around HiFi before we get to this thing, but how did that come around? Like, what's the approach there? What were you thinking?
Well, we appreciated the K&K.
Yeah.
And we have been working on bridge plate pickups for a long time. We did a thing called the I-beam maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, in certain guitars, it can sound really good. It sticks on the bridge plate.
Yeah.
But you can't play it very loud.
Okay.
And typically bridge plate pickups are like that. They're very feedback prone. So, I mean, the door through which we all must pass as acoustic musicians is feedback.
Yeah.
That's really the only problem. Seriously, everything else is nothing compared to feedback.
Yeah.
So it's the engineering is always trying to do the best job of synthesizing opposites.
Yeah.
And how you have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
You know, so I had been messing around I'd taken a second stab at it and been messing around with some ideas for another bridge plate transducer.
Okay.
To minimize feedback. And I had something that I thought was pretty decent, and I took it to Nashville about 4 years ago. And in one club it sounded great, and in another club it was a nightmare. And I was like, oh,
Why was
no. I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. And it sounded good in the studio, but you got it under certain live conditions. It just didn't work.
Okay.
And so I was pretty downhearted, and I don't usually give up on stuff, but I need a break. I need a break from this. Bo, our general manager, comes to me one day and says, Lloyd, can I take a crack at this? Would you mind? And I said, well, yeah, be my guest. So anyway, Bo cracked the code.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not invent this pickup.
Okay.
Which got me really excited. Because there's guys in our business that are really creative, and they're moving our company forward. So Bo invented this pickup.
Good for him.
And then once he got it to a certain spot, then the rest of the team, we all jumped in and helped get it from a prototype into something that was repeatable and reliable and predictable.
Okay.
And so the rest of the team finished it with Bo as part of the process, but that's Bo's pickup.
So good on Bo. So just to answer this question, which we've seen some conversations online, when was the decision made to make it powered? Well, obviously the K&K is passive.
Yes, so we tried.
Okay.
Yeah, we tried.
Okay.
And failed.
Okay.
It's part of the feedback inhibition. What we did to reduce the feedback really lowers the output of the thing.
Yeah.
So we just had to make it. We just had to make it active.
For me, that the preamp, it just brings. I think HiFi is a great name for the product, because there is some HiFi in it.
Yeah.
Like I know the sound of our guitars obviously very well, and I hear that when I plug it in.
That's great.
But there's something else.
The nuance.
But it's not the synthetic thing that is in a lot of pickups for me. So there's nuance. There is some high fidelity things around that sound, which in a live setting is great. It's often welcomed, and it's but the quality of your preamp going into that, I mean, that's pretty high, sort of studio grade.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've worked really hard on that.
Okay.
In the earlier days, we were hiring designers to build our preamps, but I was always a stereo bug, a hi-fi guy, and anyway, and so we hired somebody at one point that really knew discrete electronics, because anybody can build a circuit with an op amp or a circuit chip. That's basically the audio equivalent of a microwave dinner. It's nutritious, it'll get you fed. It's okay, and some of them are actually pretty good. But the reason for that is there's so many semiconductors in series in an op amp, just to keep it stable and make it simple to use, that it kills the sound.
Got it.
So all of the best solid state mic pre's and all that kind of stuff, they're all discrete. And so we found an engineer who knew that stuff and embraced it. And so
they certainly work.
Well, thank you.
Man.
It's just clean.
Yeah.
It's just clean. And so in any of our EQs, there's maybe 3 or 4 semiconductors in the entire series signal path, and then we do all the EQ and all the other stuff sidechain.
Yeah.
So the main signal maintains the purity.
Yeah.
That's just the way they do it in a studio mixing board. You always put your reverb and whatever sidechain, and then you got your main signal. So, we've embraced the studio mic pre
because that's
technology.
The signal you want, right? You want the true signal.
Yeah.
So we come to the NAMM Show, we've got all our guitars, HiFi fitted in Yairis and Masterworks. It's like, this is brand new. And then I go and see Lloyd, it's like, oh, we've got something new now. It's like, this is new. And then all of a sudden, you show me this.
Yeah. So, we're pretty proud with this. It's a companion to the hi-fi, and so the hi-fi goes a long ways towards fidelity, but there's nothing like a microphone. So we wanted to complete the picture. People were asking us when we introduced the hi-fi, well, what would it be like with a mic? Wouldn't that be cool? And so we thought, well, anyway, so about a year ago, we jumped into the idea, jumped into it, and started working on developing this microphone. And
which looks amazing. I mean, we haven't heard this. I think Sam can maybe get a close-up afterwards. So basically, hi-fi system, 2 transducer sensors.
Yes.
As usual. Plumb in the middle is this rather protruding, very high-tech looking thing, which is a pretty clever mic, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're spinning the mic out of aluminum.
Okay.
It's aluminum made on a lathe on a screw machine.
Okay.
And because we need the tolerances to be so close.
Yeah.
And then the capsule, we did a capsule search. This is a different capsule than the Anthem.
Okay.
Because we're firing the capsule into the body of the guitar instead of at the top.
Okay.
So we're hearing we're looking to get more ambience.
Yep.
And so we've tuned this capsule to pretty much eliminate the sound of the inside of the guitar and act as if it's outside. So it's a studio grade capsule.
Kind of unbelievable, and I don't understand how on earth you do that.
We shock mounted it so there's no mechanical vibrations from the guitar
Which
getting
is also
into
unbelievable. So just explain. So that mic is on the bridge plate, and you know, obviously the activity there is more than anywhere else in the guitar, really. And this mic doesn't pick up any mechanical influence.
Correct. It's in this shock mount. It's basically some kind of flubber with this inertial mass inside there. So it's just hanging there, and so it's not acting like a pickup. It's just, you know, like in a studio, you see the big shock mounts on the big mics, right? Yeah. That's the same idea. Yeah. And
so sound-wise, obviously we know the sound of hi-fi. What does it bring? What's the added benefit of that microphone?
Ambience.
Yeah.
Purity and sweetness.
Nice.
So here's the mid range of the guitar, where the mid range is where all the money is. That's
I love
that's the mid range is everything. So it gives you more of an authentic texture. You get a little more texture.
The color.
Yeah, and you don't have to use it all the time either.
Yeah,
you know, it's
you
like
can blend a little bit in, right? A little bit more or less would suit different players or playing styles, or maybe venues or volumes.
Yes. Yeah, you can go from a church or performing arts center to a honky-tonk on Lower Broad in Nashville with a switch of a dial, you know, anywhere in between that's appropriate.
Oh, great.
So you can sound as natural as you want,
yeah,
but you don't always have to sound natural because a mic isn't always appropriate in every performing situation.
Correct. A little bit about the console. That gives us all the control.
Yeah, we've got the mixer,
looks pretty
preamps.
Serious, that Lloyd.
Oh, we have. Oh my gosh, we're so blessed. We are the only outside client of an industrial designer who gives keynote industrial design presentations.
Okay.
In places like Singapore and Italy, and he's a renowned, very famous American industrial designer.
Okay.
Like he's mentioned in the books alongside of Jonathan Ivey.
Yeah,
and we get the privilege of actually working with this guy.
Amazing.
Yeah, because he's been a friend forever.
Well, it's certainly pretty.
Thank you.
Really
so he helps us. You know, he is the one that introduced me to the concept that great industrial design is based on the deepest empathy possible with your customer. So a lot of what we do is because of his influence in our company.
Is he a player?
No, he doesn't play guitar. Plays Xbox.
Yeah. So when will this be available?
It's going to be available in May.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're very excited.
So we're going to send you a guitar.
Absolutely.
ASAP.
Yeah.
Can't wait to try it out. Obviously, we've got your Synapse systems, and we have one in St. Louis, and we'll plug it into that. And it's this will sell for
$459.
$459.
It's not going to be cheap. That microphone is bloody expensive to make.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like sometimes, you know, you can't as a company owner, you have to be a good steward of the resources of your company, but every once in a while you get to do a more of a personal project, and this one was like, okay, I'm getting, you know, honestly, I'm a little on the older side. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but it's like,
you don't sound that way.
But
you don't act that way.
Well, thank you. It's my enthusiasm, but it's like I just felt like I just want to do something no holds barred.
But I just left your booth and you said that to somebody and they said, really? It's only $459? And like most people say, $459 for an acoustic guitar pickup? When you think of the tech in there, the R&D, the years of development, a lifetime of understanding, then all, you know, custom molds and tooling and et cetera, et cetera. And I think our industry, it does force us to really look at the costs of things. You know,
it does.
It's different to high tech and even audio to some respects.
Yeah.
And I think, but I mean, even looking at that thing, the amount of molds and tooling and thought and etc. Can't wait to try it. But I mean, if that is the pinnacle of what you should put inside of an acoustic guitar and you want it to sound amazing, that's all right.
Yeah, I hope so. It's the best thing. It's the best thing we've ever done, or at least it's the best thing I've ever done.
That's amazing to know.
And I'm really excited to see. You know, the thing about musicians, it's great. Musicians tend to typically be broke most of the time because it's a passion. You know, and how many musicians? It's like how many high school basketball players make it into the NBA, right?
Of course.
So that puts a lot of price pressure. On what we can do.
And we're all addicted to buying more gear.
Yeah.
More guitars and more pedals.
But I think that's a good thing because it forces a lot of creativity. So how can you bring the quality to your product at a price that isn't crazy? Yeah. So there's a good side to that too.
So what's its name?
It's called the HiFi Duet.
HiFi Duet.
Yeah.
Great.
And this is the silo mic.
The silo mic.
Yeah. Somebody just said, "Hey, it looks like a grain silo."
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. You know, naming things is it's harder than inventing the product.
It's very difficult. I mean, we go on months on things, absolutely months.
Yeah.
So Lloyd, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for all the support you've given us and the love to in the pickups that come in our guitars and to the people who buy our stuff. I think everybody would like to show their appreciation. This is amazing.
Thank you, Chris.
And
Thank
we
you.
look forward to working well and hearing some of your history. And keep going, right? Just keep going.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh, for sure.
All the knockbacks, all that sort of stuff. It's a real wonderful story.
Thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you very much.
It's a pleasure and an honor to work with your fine company and you yourself. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. We hope you enjoyed that. The marvelous Mr. Lloyd Baggs.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. If you want to watch more videos like this one, click the video on the screen now.